Jake Martinez stood in the Grand Council chamber and tried not to let his nervousness show. The chamber was massive, larger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. It floated in space around a neutron star, and through the transparent walls, he could see the star's light bending in strange ways. 200 different alien species filled the chamber, each one stranger than the last. Some had scales, others had tentacles, and a few looked like they were made of pure light. Today was the day humanity officially joined the Galactic Council. After 50 years of being probationary members, Earth and its colonies would finally have full voting rights. Jake had worked toward this moment for 15 years, ever since he became Earth's ambassador to the Council. He wore his best suit, dark blue with the Earth insignia on his chest. His hands were sweaty, but he kept them clasped behind his back. High Arbiter Velshawn floated at the center of the chamber. He was a crystalline being, tall and angular, his body made of some kind of living crystal that caught the neutron star's light and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. His species, the Velkar, had founded the Council 8,000 years ago. When he spoke, his voice came from everywhere at once, deep and echoing. "We welcome humanity to full membership in the Galactic Council," Velshawn said. The words were formal, practiced. May they contribute to the prosperity and security of all civilized species. The chamber filled with sounds. Some species clapped, others made clicking noises, and a few released clouds of colored gas. Jake recognized it as applause. Though it sounded nothing like human cheering, he bowed slightly, the way he had practiced, and walked to the human delegation's new section. The section was in the outer rim of the chamber, far from the center where the elder species sat. It was small, with only enough space for 10 humans to stand comfortably. Jake noticed that the sections nearby belonged to other newer species, ones that had joined the Council in the last 1,000 years. The older, more powerful species had large sections near the center, close to where Velshawn floated. Commander Lisa Hayes stood waiting in the human section. She was the head of Earth's Defense Fleet representative to the Council, a tall woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She had been watching the ceremony with a careful expression that Jake had learned to read over the years. It meant she was taking notes on everything, analyzing every detail. "Congratulations, Ambassador," Lisa said quietly as Jake reached her side. "We're officially members now." "Did you notice how Velshawn phrased it?" Jake asked, keeping his voice low. "Contribute to prosperity and security. Not participate in decisions. Not help guide policy. Contribute." Lisa nodded. The Korthan delegation didn't even look our way during the ceremony. Neither did the Zelani. Jake had noticed that too. The Korthan Empire controlled 100 star systems and had one of the largest military forces in the galaxy. They were reptilian, with dark green scales and yellow eyes. Their section was directly to Velshawn's right, a position of honor. The Zelani collective was equally powerful, beings of pure energy who existed in containment suits. They occupied the space to Velshawn's left. The ceremony ended, and the species began filing out toward the reception hall. Jake and Lisa followed, along with the rest of the human delegation. Emma Cross, Jake's deputy, joined them. She was young, only 30, but brilliant at reading political situations. "Ambassador, I've been reviewing the membership documents," Emma said. She carried a data pad and looked worried. "There are some things you need to see," Emma said. The reception hall was less formal than the chamber. Different species gathered in groups, talking and sharing food and drink. Jake saw the insectoid chitin clustering around bowls of what looked like colored paste. The gas-breathing Thren floated in special containment bubbles. Serving robots moved between the groups, offering refreshments. Jake found a quiet corner and took Emma's datapad. Lisa stood beside him, reading over his shoulder. What they saw made Jake's stomach sink. 30 warships, he read aloud. 10,000 soldiers. 5 mining stations in the outer reach. 3 science teams assigned to Council research projects. 20% of Earth's quantum fuel production. That's what we're required to contribute in the first year alone. Emma said. It's in the membership agreement. Non-negotiable for full members. Lisa let out a slow breath. 30 ships is a quarter of our entire fleet. 10,000 soldiers is nearly half our trained military personnel. And 20% of our quantum fuel? Earth barely produces enough for our own colonies. What are other species contributing? Jake asked. Emma scrolled through the data. The Korthan Empire is contributing 50 ships, but they have a fleet of over 2,000. The Zelani are providing 5 ships and some technology sharing. The Chitin are sending mining equipment, but no soldiers. Jake did the math in his head. Proportionally, humanity was being asked to contribute far more than the elder species. He looked around the reception hall and saw a pattern he hadn't noticed before. The newer species, the ones with sections in the outer rim, all had smaller delegations. They looked tired, worn down. The elder species looked comfortable, well-fed, confident. A Korthan approached them. He was tall, even by Korthan standards, with decorated scales that marked him as high-ranking. Ambassador Martinez, the Korthan said, in accented English. I am General Kreth. I command the Council's military forces in the eastern sector. General, Jake said, extending his hand. Kreth looked at it for a moment, before touching it briefly with his clawed hand. The handshake was perfunctory, barely a gesture. Your contribution of ships and soldiers will be assigned to the Outer Reach patrols, Kreth said. It is dangerous work. Many species lose ships there, but all members must serve. We're prepared to meet our obligations, Jake said carefully. Kreth's yellow eyes studied him. Good. Humans are new to space. You have much to learn. Follow orders, and you will do well. The Council has maintained peace for 8,000 years, because species know their place. He walked away before Jake could respond. Lisa's jaw was tight, a sign she was angry, but controlling it. Their place, she repeated quietly. He means our place. At the bottom, Captain Ben Walker joined them. He was the head of human military liaison to the Council, a veteran of Earth's last war, and one of the most experienced officers in the fleet. He had gray hair and scars on his hands from years of service. I've been talking to some of the other species, Ben said. The newer ones. They've given me a clear picture of how things work here. The elder species make all the real decisions in closed meetings. The rest of us vote on things that have already been decided. Our contributions go to projects controlled by the elder species. If we create something new, something valuable, it gets classified and assigned to elder species oversight. That's not partnership, Emma said. That's exploitation. That's politics, Ben replied. And we just signed up for it. Jake looked around the reception hall again. He saw human scientists talking to Zelani researchers, trying to share ideas. He saw human soldiers comparing equipment with Chitin warriors. He saw human engineers examining the station's architecture with fascination. Humanity had been so eager to join the Council, so proud to be accepted by the galactic community. They had worked for 50 years to prove themselves worthy. Now Jake wondered what they had really joined. A council of equals, or a hierarchy where humans would always be at the bottom, providing resources and labor for species that saw them as primitives. We have 6 months before our first contributions are due, Jake said. Let's use that time to learn everything we can about how this council really works. Talk to the other species, especially the newer ones. Find out what we're really getting into. Lisa nodded. And if we don't like what we find? Jake looked at the Earth insignia on his suit. Humanity had fought hard to reach the stars, had built colonies on a dozen worlds, had developed faster than light travel through determination and innovation. They had done it themselves, without help from the Council. Then we'll deal with that when the time comes, he said. Through the transparent walls, he could see Earth in the distance, a small blue dot among the stars. It looked very far away. 6 months had passed since humanity joined the Council, and Captain Amy Sullivan was beginning to understand what that really meant. She stood on the bridge of the Ranger, her flagship, watching the scanner displays show empty space. The outer reach was supposed to be dangerous, full of pirates and raiders. So far, she had seen nothing but rocks and debris. "Captain, we're receiving the daily briefing from Council Command," her communications officer said. Amy walked to the comm station and read the message. It was the same as yesterday's message. And the day before that. Patrol Sector 7. Maintain standard formation. Report any contacts. Nothing about the pirate activity that was supposed to be rampant out here. Nothing about backup or support. Just patrol and report. She looked at her fleet. 15 ships, all modern Earth vessels with trained crews. They had arrived in the outer reach 3 months ago, replacing a Korthon patrol that had been there for 2 years. The Korthon commander had seemed relieved to leave, almost eager. Now, Amy understood why. "Lieutenant Chen, what's the status of the other council patrols in this region?" Amy asked. Her tactical officer checked his screens. 2 Zilani ships in Sector 4, running on minimal power. 1 Chitin mining guard in Sector 9. No Korthon vessels within 6 sectors of our position. The nearest council reinforcements are 18 hours away, at maximum speed. Amy frowned. The outer reach covered a huge area of space, and there were barely any council ships out here. For a region that was supposed to need heavy patrolling, it was nearly empty. "Captain, we have a distress signal," the communications officer said suddenly. "It's from a Chitin mining colony in Sector 8. They're under attack." Amy moved to the main display. The signal was desperate. Panicked clicks and whistles that her computer translated to English. Pirates. At least 20 ships. Attacking the colony. Civilians in danger. Requesting immediate assistance. Send a priority message to Council Command, Amy ordered. Request permission to engage and ask for backup. Minutes passed. Amy watched the distress signal continue, growing more frantic. The communications officer kept sending requests to Council Command. Finally, a response came. "Council Command acknowledges the situation," the officer read. "We are ordered to hold position and wait for Korthon reinforcements. Estimated arrival time is 6 hours. 6 hours? Amy stared at the message. That colony will be destroyed in 6 hours. Those people will be dead. Her first officer, Commander Pete Grant, stood beside her. He was a veteran like Amy, with 20 years in Earth's fleet. Captain, we could reach that colony in 40 minutes. Amy looked at the tactical display. Her 15 ships against 20 pirate vessels. The odds weren't great, but they weren't impossible either. Human ships were newer, faster. Her crews had trained together for years, and 40 minutes versus 6 hours meant the difference between saving lives and counting bodies. She thought about the Council's order. Hold position. Wait for reinforcements. Follow protocol. That was what the Council wanted, what they expected from humanity. Obedience. All ships, battle stations, Amy said. We're going in. The Ranger and her sister ships jumped to faster than light speed. 40 minutes later, they dropped into normal space near the Chitin colony. What Amy saw made her angry. The colony was built into an asteroid, with domes and tunnels visible on the surface. 20 pirate ships surrounded it, firing at the domes with energy weapons. Some of the domes had already breached. Amy could see debris and bodies floating in space. The pirates were systematic, professional. This wasn't a random raid. It was organized destruction. All ships, spread formation, Amy ordered. Target the pirate command ship first. Use precision strikes. We don't have the numbers for a straight fight, so we do this smart. The human fleet split into 3 groups. Amy took 5 ships and approached from above. Pete took 5 more and came in from the side. The last 5 stayed back, ready to provide support. It was a tactic humans had used in naval warfare for centuries. divide, flank, and strike from multiple angles. The pirates noticed them too late. They had been focused on the defenseless colony, not expecting anyone to arrive for hours. The human ships opened fire with railguns and missiles, weapons that the Council species rarely used anymore. Most Council species relied on energy weapons. But humans had discovered that old-fashioned kinetic weapons worked just as well, and were harder to defend against. The pirate command ship took 3 railgun hits in rapid succession. Its shields flickered and failed. Amy's missiles finished it, and the ship broke apart in a silent explosion. "All ships, keep moving," Amy called. "Don't give them a stationary target." The human fleet moved like sharks, never staying in one place, always attacking from a new angle. The pirates tried to organize a defense, but they were used to fighting slow, predictable Council ships. Human vessels were faster, more agile. They darted in, fired, and moved away before the pirates could return fire. Within 20 minutes, half the pirate fleet was destroyed or disabled. The rest tried to run. "Don't let them escape," Amy said. "Lieutenant Kyle Preston, take your Marines and prepare for boarding operations." Kyle Preston commanded the Marine detachment on the Ranger. He was young, only 26, but he had trained his Marines to perfection. While Amy's ships chased down the fleeing pirates, Kyle and his teams launched in assault shuttles. The Marines boarded 3 pirate ships that had surrendered. Most Council species would have just destroyed the ships and moved on. But Kyle had studied history, had learned from centuries of human military operations. Prisoners could provide intelligence. Captured ships could be examined for clues about pirate operations. Kyle's Marines moved through the pirate ships with efficiency. Room by room, corridor by corridor, they secured each vessel. By the time Amy's fleet had finished mopping up the last of the pirates, Kyle had captured 43 pirates alive and secured valuable data from their computers. The Chitin colony sent a message. Their clicks and whistles sounded like gratitude. 20,000 Chitin had been saved. The colony administrator, a large insect with blue markings, appeared on the video screen. "Thank you, human captain," the administrator said through the translator. "You saved us. The Council patrols have never responded so quickly before." Amy felt pride in her chest. Her fleet had done good work today. They had saved lives, destroyed a pirate operation, and captured valuable intelligence. Surely the Council would recognize this. She sent a full report to Council Command, detailing the action, the results, and the intelligence gathered from the captured pirates. Then she waited for a response. The response came from High Arbiter Velshon himself. Amy stood in her ready room, reading the message with growing disbelief. The Council acknowledged the successful defense of the Chitin colony. However, human forces had violated protocol by engaging without authorization. Captain Sullivan was formally reprimanded for disobeying orders. All captured pirates were to be transferred to Corthan custody immediately. All intelligence gathered was to be classified and transferred to Council security. Amy read the message 3 times, trying to make sense of it. She had saved 20,000 lives. She had stopped a pirate operation. She had done everything right, and the Council's response was a reprimand. "Captain, there's another message," her communications officer said. "From Ambassador Martinez on Earth." Jake's message was brief. He had heard about the action at the Chitin colony. He was proud of what Amy and her crew had done, but he warned her that the Council was not pleased. The Corthan delegation was particularly angry, claiming that humanity had made them look bad by succeeding where Corthan forces would have arrived too late. Meanwhile, on the Council research station, Dr. Claire Bennett was having her own troubles. Claire was Earth's leading expert on quantum physics. 6 months ago, she had been excited to join the Council's science program. She imagined collaborating with alien scientists, sharing knowledge, pushing the boundaries of understanding. Instead, she found herself sidelined and ignored. Claire had made a breakthrough in quantum field manipulation. She discovered a way to create stable field fluctuations that could improve faster than light travel by 30%. It was revolutionary work, the kind of discovery that could change everything. She presented her findings to the Council Science Committee. The committee was made up of representatives from 12 elder species. Claire showed them her data, her experiments, her projections. She was excited, passionate, ready to collaborate. The Zilani committee chair listened to her presentation without expression. When Claire finished, the chair simply said, "This research will be classified. You are removed from the project. A Zilani oversight team will take over. You may return to your quarters." Claire stood there, confused. "But this is my research. I discovered this." "Human scientists are valuable contributors," the chair said. "But advanced theoretical work requires more experienced oversight. Your contribution is noted." Claire left the meeting room feeling hollow. She contacted Jake Martinez immediately, telling him what had happened. Jake's response was sympathetic, but not surprised. He had been receiving similar reports from other humans across the council. Human medical teams had developed a new treatment for radiation exposure. The council medical board classified it and assigned it to elder species doctors. Human engineers proposed improvements to station life support systems. The council engineering committee thanked them and then ignored the proposals. Human diplomats offered solutions to trade disputes between smaller species. The elder species dismissed them as inexperienced. The pattern was clear. Humanity could contribute labor, resources, and raw materials. Human soldiers could fight. Human workers could build. Human scientists could research. But the credit, the control, and the benefits all went to the elder species. Jake sat in his office on the council station, reviewing reports from every human serving the council. Amy's report about the Chitin colony rescue. Claire's report about her stolen research. Reports from human engineers, doctors, diplomats, all saying the same thing. We work hard. We do good work. And the council treats us like servants. Emma Cross entered his office. She looked tired. "Ambassador, I've been analyzing the council's financial records. The public ones, at least. Do you know how much the council is charging elder species for access to Dr. Bennett's quantum field research?" "How much?" Jake asked. 50 billion credits per species. So far, 3 species have purchased access. That's 150 billion credits. Dr. Bennett received a standard research bonus of 5,000 credits. Humanity receives nothing. Jake closed his eyes. He had known the council was taking advantage of humanity, but seeing the numbers made it real. Humanity was being exploited, systematically and deliberately. "We have a council vote tomorrow," Emma said, "about resource allocation for the next year. The elder species want to increase humanity's contributions. More ships, more soldiers, more resources. They say it's because we've proven ourselves capable." The emergency session was called in the middle of the night, council time. Jake Martinez rushed to the council chamber, his mind racing. Emergency sessions were rare. Something serious had happened. The chamber was full when he arrived. Every species had sent representatives. The usual calm atmosphere was gone, replaced by nervous energy. Jake could see species huddled in groups, talking urgently. Some looked scared. High Arbiter Velshawn floated at the center, his crystalline body reflecting the lights in sharp, jagged patterns. He looked different somehow. Less confident. Almost worried. "Members of the council," Velshawn's voice echoed through the chamber. "We face a threat unlike any seen in centuries. 3 days ago, the Chitin colony on Verath Prime went silent. We sent a scout ship to investigate. What they found was..." Velshawn paused. Jake had never heard the High Arbiter pause before. The planet was dead. Stripped of all resources. The oceans were gone. The atmosphere was thin, barely breathable. Every structure was demolished. Every living thing was gone. 3 billion Chitin vanished. The planet looked like it had been dead for 1,000 years, not 3 days. The chamber erupted in noise. Species shouted questions, made sounds of distress, demanded answers. Jake felt cold. 3 billion people, gone in 3 days. 2 days ago, a Korthan military outpost in the Rim sector was destroyed, Velshawn continued. 5,000 soldiers, 30 ships, all gone. The base was reduced to debris. Yesterday, a Zaylani observation station stopped transmitting. When we sent ships to investigate, we found nothing. The station had been completely destroyed. Even the Zaylani shields, considered impenetrable, were useless. Jake looked at Commander Lisa Hayes, who stood beside him. Her face was pale. "We are calling this enemy the Devourers," Velshawn said. "They come from beyond the galactic rim. They attack without warning, leave nothing behind, and disappear before reinforcements can arrive. We do not know what they want. We do not know how many there are. We only know they are deadly." General Kreth, the Korthan military commander, stood. "The Council must respond with force. We will assemble an armada, the largest fleet in Council history. We will hunt these Devourers and destroy them." The chamber filled with sounds of agreement. Species wanted action, wanted to feel safe again. "The armada will require contributions from all member species," Velshawn said. "Each species will provide ships and soldiers according to their capability." Jake knew what was coming before Velshawn said it. Humanity will contribute 15 ships and 5,000 soldiers. Jake stood up. "High Arbiter. That is half of Earth's fleet. That would leave our colonies virtually undefended." "The Council's need is great," Velshawn replied. "All species must make sacrifices." "How many ships is the Korthan Empire contributing?" Jake asked. 50 ships, General Kreth said proudly. "The might of the Korthan military will lead this armada." "The Korthan Empire controls 100 star systems and has a fleet of over 2,000 ships," Jake said. "You're contributing 2.5% of your fleet. Earth has 30 ships total across 12 colonies. You're asking us to contribute 50%. That's not proportional. That's not fair. Fairness is not the issue," Velshawn said coldly. "The security of the Council is the issue. Your contribution is non-negotiable." Jake looked around the chamber. Some of the newer species looked sympathetic, but none spoke up. The elder species looked impassive. This was already decided. The emergency session was just for show. "Earth will need time to mobilize our forces," Jake said carefully. "You have 1 week," Velshawn replied. "The armada departs in 2 weeks." The session ended. Jake returned to the human delegation section, where Lisa and Emma waited. "This is wrong," Lisa said quietly. "They're stripping Earth's defenses to fill their armada. If the Devourers attack Earth while our fleet is gone, they don't care," Jake said. "To them, Earth is expendable. We're new, small, not important. If we lose a few colonies, it doesn't affect the Council's power structure." Captain Ben Walker arrived from the military liaison office. He looked grim. "I've been reviewing the armada plans. The Council Military Committee has already drafted the battle strategy. It's a frontal assault, overwhelming numbers charging at the enemy." "Has it been effective?" Emma asked. "Against pirates and rebels, yes," Ben said. "Against a real military force? I don't know. The Council hasn't fought a major war in millennia. They've grown comfortable, predictable." "Can we win?" Lisa asked. Ben shrugged. "Maybe. If we have enough ships. But we'll lose thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. And if the Devourers are as advanced as they seem." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Over the next week, Earth scrambled to prepare. 15 ships were pulled from colony defense duty. 5,000 soldiers received deployment orders. Families said goodbye. Civilians on the colonies worried about what would happen if the Devourers came while the fleet was away. Ben was given command of the human contingent. Lisa was assigned as his second officer. Jake wanted to protest, wanted to argue that this was too much, but he knew it would be pointless. The council had made its decision. The day before departure, Ben met with his officers. They gathered in a secure room on the council station, away from alien eyes. "I've been studying the Devourer attacks," Ben said, projecting data on a screen. "There are patterns the council hasn't noticed. Look at the timing. The attacks happen every 72 hours, almost exactly. That suggests careful planning, coordination. They're not random raiders," Lisa said. "They're organized. More than that," Ben continued. "Look at which sectors they avoid. Here, here, and here. All regions with unusual radiation signatures or quantum fluctuations." Kyle Preston, who would lead the Marine contingent, studied the data. "So, they're avoiding those areas. Why? Maybe the radiation interferes with their systems. Maybe the quantum fluctuations make it hard for them to navigate. I don't know. But it's a pattern." "Have you reported this to the Council Military Committee?" one of the officers asked. "I tried," Ben said. "General Kreth told me humans don't understand real warfare." The Zelani military coordinator said, "I was seeing patterns that don't exist. They dismissed every suggestion I made." "So what do we do?" Lisa asked. "We follow orders," Ben said. "But we also prepare for the possibility that the Council's strategy won't work. If things go bad, we need to be ready to improvise." The Armada assembled at the Nexus, a massive staging area near the galactic core. Jake watched from a Council observation station as ships arrived. Korthan, dreadnoughts. Huge and heavily armed. Zelani cruisers, sleek and surrounded by energy shields. Chitin carriers, bristling with fighter craft. Dozens of other species, each bringing their own ships and styles. And 15 human ships, small by comparison, but modern and deadly. 200 ships total. The largest fleet the Council had assembled in 2,000 years. Jake should have felt confident. Instead, he felt dread. The human contingent was assigned to the rear guard. General Kreth made the announcement personally. "Human forces lack experience in large-scale operations. They will provide support from the rear. The Korthan fleet will lead the charge." Ben accepted the assignment without comment, but Jake could see the frustration in his eyes. The Council didn't trust humanity enough to put them on the front lines, but trusted them enough to demand half their fleet. The night before the Armada departed, Jake met with Ben privately. They stood in an observation deck, watching the human ships float in formation. "Be careful out there," Jake said. "I will," Ben replied. "But Jake, if this goes badly, if the Council's strategy fails, I'm going to do what I think is right, even if it means disobeying orders." Jake nodded slowly. "I know. Just try to bring our people home." "I know that." The Armada departed the next morning. Jake watched them go. 200 ships jumping to faster-than-light speed in a coordinated sequence. It was beautiful and terrifying. Emma stood beside him. "Ambassador, there's something you need to see. I've been investigating how the Council is using Dr. Bennett's research." Jake followed her to a secure terminal. Emma pulled up financial records and technical documents. "The quantum field research isn't just being sold to elder species," Emma said. "It's being used in the Armada. The new shield generators on the Korthan ships, the improved engines on the Zelani cruisers, they're all based on Dr. Bennett's work. The Council has made billions selling her research, and they're using it to upgrade their own ships. While human ships use standard equipment," Jake said quietly. "We gave them the breakthrough that's protecting their fleet," Emma said. "And we get nothing. Not credit, not compensation, not even access to the technology we invented." Jake stared at the data. He thought about Amy Sullivan being reprimanded for saving lives. He thought about Claire Bennett being removed from her own research. He thought about Earth's colonies left undefended, while half their fleet went to fight a council war. "Emma, I need you to prepare a document for me," Jake said. "A very specific document. Can you do it quietly, without anyone on the council knowing?" "What kind of document?" Emma asked. A notice of withdrawal, Jake said. Article 17 of the Council Charter. Any member species can resign voluntarily, with 6 months' notice. I need to know exactly how it works, what the requirements are, and what happens after we file it. Emma stared at him. Ambassador, you're thinking about pulling Earth out of the Council? I'm thinking about options, Jake said. Right now, we're trapped. We contribute everything and receive nothing. Our people save lives and get reprimanded. Our scientists make breakthroughs and get pushed aside. Our colonies are left vulnerable while we fight council wars. That's not partnership. That's servitude. The Council won't let us go easily, Emma warned. Maybe not, Jake said. But I want to be ready. If Ben and those 15 ships don't come back, if this armada fails because the Council was too arrogant to listen to good advice, if we lose more people for a Council that doesn't respect us, then we need to have a choice. Emma nodded. I'll prepare the document. Quietly, Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Ben and Lisa and Kyle and 5,000 human soldiers were heading toward battle. They would follow orders, do their duty, and probably be brave and heroic. And if they survived, the Council would take credit for their accomplishments and demand more contributions. Unless something changed, Jake made a decision. When the Armada returned, if it returned, he would contact Earth's government. He would present the evidence of exploitation. He would give them the choice: continue serving a council that saw them as tools, or walk away and forge their own path. It was time for humanity to decide what kind of future they wanted among the stars. The Armada dropped out of faster-than-light speed, at the edge of the dead zone. Ben stood on the bridge of the Ranger, watching the scanner displays fill with data. Ahead of them lay 3 star systems, all lifeless. The Devourers had been here. The evidence was everywhere. Sensors are picking up debris fields, the tactical officer reported. Lots of metal, some organic compounds. Looks like destroyed ships and habitats. Any sign of the Devourers? Ben asked. Negative. Wait. Contact. Multiple contacts. Bearing 327. Range 80,000 kilometers. Counting 50. No. 70 ships. They're big, Captain. Bigger than anything in our fleet. Ben's stomach tightened. 70 ships was more than intelligence had suggested. Much more. And if they were larger than Council ships? All human ships, maintain formation, Ben ordered. Stay alert. The Council command channel crackled. General Kreeth's voice came through, confident and loud. All ships, prepare for assault formation. We will advance in 3 waves. Korthan fleet in front. Ceylani fleet second. Support vessels in rear. Speed 5 to 0%. Engage on my mark. Ben looked at Lisa. She shook her head slightly. The plan was exactly what they had feared. A straightforward charge, no subtlety, no tactics. Just mass and firepower. The Devourers will see us coming from 1,000,000 kilometers away, Lisa said quietly. This is suicide. Council command. This is Captain Walker, Ben transmitted. Request permission to discuss tactical alternatives. Negative, Captain Walker. General Kreeth replied. The battle plan is set. All ships will follow orders. Maintain your position. Maintain your position. The Armada began to move forward. 200 ships in a massive formation, spreading across space like a wall of steel. It was impressive to watch. It was also predictable. The Devourers responded immediately. Their 70 ships split into smaller groups and began moving in complex patterns. They weren't charging forward to meet the Armada. They were maneuvering, positioning themselves. They're flanking us, Lisa said, watching the tactical display. They're going to hit us from multiple angles while we're locked in formation. Ben opened a channel to Kyle Preston, who was in the Marine Bay with his troops. Kyle, prepare your teams. I have a feeling we're going to need boarding parties before this is over. Ready when you are, Captain, Kyle replied. The Devourers struck first. Their weapons were unlike anything Ben had seen before. Energy beams that seemed to phase in and out of normal space, hitting shields from the inside. Missiles that exploded in bursts of quantum disruption, scrambling ship systems without physically damaging the hull. The Korthan dreadnoughts in the front line took the first hits. Their shields flickered and failed. Ship after ship went dark. Systems disabled. Crews helpless. The massive vessels that had looked so powerful moments ago were now just floating targets. Shields down on 70% of the Korthan fleet. The tactical officer reported, his voice rising. The Ceylani cruisers are trying to compensate, but their shields are being penetrated. It's like the Devourers know exactly how to bypass Council defenses. Because they probably studied us, Ben thought. The Devourers had been attacking Council forces for weeks. They had learned Council tactics, Council technology, Council weaknesses, and now they were exploiting that knowledge perfectly. All ships, break formation, General Kreth ordered, his confident tone gone. Engage at will. Repeat. Engage at will. The Council formation dissolved into chaos. Ships scattered, trying to avoid the Devourer weapons. Some fired wildly. Others retreated. The armada that had looked so powerful was falling apart. "Captain, orders?" Lisa asked. Ben looked at the tactical display. The human contingent was in the rear, relatively safe for now. The Devourers were focused on the larger Council ships. But that wouldn't last. Once they finished with the Korthan and Ceylani fleets, they would turn their attention to everyone else. He thought about Claire Bennett's research, the quantum field manipulation that the Council had stolen and used for their own ships. Research that could have been installed on human vessels if the Council had shared it. Ben had studied Claire's work in secret, understanding the basic principles, even if he couldn't replicate the full technology. All human ships. "This is Walker," Ben transmitted on the secure human channel. "Generate maximum quantum field fluctuations from your engines. Scatter the output, randomly. Make yourselves hard to target." Ben transmitted. "Make yourselves hard to target. Captain, that will destabilize our shields," his engineering officer warned. "Do it anyway. The Devourers are using quantum targeting. If we create enough interference, they won't be able to lock onto us." The human ships followed his orders. Their engines began outputting irregular quantum signatures, creating noise that would confuse sensors. It was a gamble, but Ben was out of safe options. "Lisa, take 7 ships and circle around to the Devourer right flank. I'll take the other 7 and hit them from the left. We're going to do what the Council should have done from the start. We're going to use tactics." Lisa smiled grimly. Finally, the human ships broke formation, moving fast. They were smaller than most Council vessels, more agile, and with the quantum interference protecting them, the Devourer targeting systems had trouble tracking them. Ben's group came in low, relative to the battle plane, using a destroyed Korthan dreadnought as cover. When they emerged, they were right on top of a cluster of Devourer ships. Human railguns opened fire, kinetic rounds punching through Devourer hulls. Missiles followed. Not the quantum disruption type the Devourers used, but old-fashioned explosive warheads. 3 Devourer ships exploded. 2 more went spinning away, damaged. "Captain, the Devourers are trying to reposition," the tactical officer reported, "but they're having trouble coordinating. Our quantum interference is disrupting their communications. Keep hitting them," Ben ordered. "Don't give them time to adapt." Lisa's group attacked from the other side, catching the Devourers in a crossfire. More enemy ships fell. The Devourers were powerful, but they had planned for fighting slow, predictable Council forces. Human ships were fast, unpredictable, and using tactics the enemy hadn't prepared for. Kyle saw his chance. "Captain, 3 Devourer ships are disabled but intact. Their hulls are breached but life support is still active. Permission to board? Granted. Find out what makes these things tick." Kyle and his Marines launched in assault shuttles, speeding toward the damaged Devourer vessels. The shuttles were small enough that the enemy ignored them, focused on the larger human warships. That was a mistake. The Marines breached the first Devourer ship, cutting through the hull with plasma torches. Kyle led his team inside, weapons ready. The interior was alien. Nothing like human or council ships. The corridors were organic-looking, with strange growths on the walls. The air was thick and smelled like copper. "Stay alert," Kyle ordered. "We don't know what we're dealing with." They found the crew. Or what was left of them. The Devourers weren't a single species. They were dozens of species, all connected through cybernetic implants to a central network. Some were humanoid, others were insectoid, and some were completely alien. They all had the same blank expression, the same purposeful movements. "They're drones," one of Kyle's Marines said. "Someone or something is controlling them." Kyle found the ship's power core. It was a massive sphere of dark energy, pulsing with light. Connected to it were cables running throughout the ship. He pulled out his scanner and recorded everything. "Captain Walker, you need to see this," Kyle transmitted. "The Devourer ships are networked. Their power cores are all connected. If we can disrupt the network nodes, we can shut down entire sections of their fleet." Ben processed this information fast. "Can you disable the nodes?" "Already on it. Give me 10 minutes. Kyle and his teams spread through the damaged Devourer ships, planting charges on the network nodes. The work was dangerous. Some of the drones fought back, and Kyle lost 3 Marines to enemy fire. But they completed the mission. "Charge is set," Kyle reported. Detonating in 3, 2, 1. The network nodes exploded. Across the battlefield, 20 Devourer ships suddenly went dark. Their systems failed. Their weapons stopped firing, and their engines cut out. They drifted helplessly in space. "All human ships, target the disabled vessels," Ben ordered. "Hit them hard before they can recover." The human fleet focused their fire. One by one, the disabled Devourer ships were destroyed. The remaining enemy vessels tried to retreat, but the Council forces, given a sudden reprieve, pressed their attack. The Zelani cruisers, still operational, fired their energy weapons. The few surviving Korthan ships used their heavy cannons. The battle turned. The Devourers, faced with unexpected resistance and losing ships faster than they could respond, made a decision. They jumped to faster than light speed and fled. The Armada had won. Barely. Ben surveyed the damage. Of the 200 Council ships that had entered the battle, only 120 remained intact. 50 ships were destroyed completely. 30 more were too damaged to repair. The casualties were in the tens of thousands. The human contingent had fared better. Ben had lost 7 ships, not 15. His tactics, his use of the quantum interference, and Kyle's boarding action had saved lives. 5,000 human soldiers had deployed. 4,200 were returning home. Ben should have felt proud. Instead, he felt hollow, because he knew what was coming next. The Council convened an inquiry 3 days after the battle. Ben stood in a small chamber, facing a panel of 5 Council members. General Kreeth was there, his scales darker than usual, a sign of Korthan anger. The Zelani military coordinator floated in its containment suit. 3 other elder species representatives completed the panel. "Captain Walker, you are charged with disobeying direct orders during combat," General Kreeth said. "You broke formation without authorization. You engaged the enemy using unapproved tactics. You sent boarding parties without clearance. These actions endangered the entire Armada." Ben stared at him. "My actions saved the Armada. If I had followed your formation, my ships would have been destroyed like the Korthan dreadnoughts. If I hadn't discovered the enemy network vulnerability, we would have lost that battle. We would have lost that battle." "You got lucky," Kreeth snapped. "Your reckless behavior could have resulted in disaster." My careful planning resulted in victory, Ben replied, his voice hard. I studied the enemy. I adapted to the situation. I did what any good commander would do. You did what humans do, the Zelani coordinator said. You ignored wisdom and experience. You thought you knew better than species who have waged war for millennia. Your arrogance is typical of your kind. Unquote. Ryson. In feign that the redder of you. We were continuous tection. I'm now another man sighting. You redder flee sun 47. No end of this now. Ben felt his anger rising. My kind saved your lives. My Marines died boarding those ships to find the intelligence that won the battle. My crews fought, while your forces scattered. Enough, one of the other panel members said. Captain Walker, you are formally reprimanded. This reprimand will be placed in your record. You are fortunate we do not bring greater charges. Dismissed. Ben left the chamber, his hands shaking with rage. Lisa was waiting outside. How bad? She asked. Bad. They blamed me for everything except losing the battle. Back on the council station, worse news was waiting. Jake met Ben in a secure room. Emma and Claire present as well. Ben, there's something you need to know. Jake said. The council is claiming credit for the victory. General Kreth is being called a hero for his leadership. The Zelani coordinator is receiving medals for technological innovation. The official report says human forces provided adequate support. Adequate support? Ben's voice was dangerous. We saved that armada. Kyle and his Marines found the enemy weakness. My tactics turned the battle. And they're calling it adequate support? Claire pulled up a document on a screen. It gets worse. The quantum interference technique you used, the one based on my research, the Council Military Committee is claiming they developed it. They're selling it to member species as a new defensive technology. Cost is 10 billion credits per fleet. That's my technique. Based on your research, Ben said. Which the Council stole from both of us, Claire replied. Jake stood. I've been in contact with Earth's government. Prime Minister Kate Morgan wants to speak with all of us. She's seen the reports. The real reports from our people. She knows what happened. She knows how the Council treats us. What does she want to do? Lisa asked. She wants to call a vote. The Earth government, the colonial representatives, everyone. The question is simple. Do we stay in a council that exploits us? Or do we leave and stand on our own? Ben thought about the human soldiers who died in the battle. He thought about the reprimand in his record. He thought about Earth's colonies left defenseless while the council demanded more and more. What do you think the vote will be? Ben asked. Jake smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. I think humanity is done being used. Jake Martinez walked into the council chamber, carrying a single data pad. The chamber was full, as usual, with representatives from 200 species going about their daily business. Debates over trade routes, discussions about mining rights, arguments over territorial boundaries, normal council operations. Jake approached the central podium, where High Arbiter Velshon floated. He uploaded a document to the council's official record system. The document was only 2 pages long. High Arbiter, I am formally submitting humanity's notice of withdrawal from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. As permitted under Article 17 of the Council Charter, Earth and all human colonies are resigning our membership. We will honor existing contracts for 6 months, after which all human personnel, ships, and resources will be withdrawn from Council operations. The chamber went silent. Every species stopped talking and turned to look at Jake. Velshon's crystalline body seemed to dim for a moment. Ambassador Martinez, surely you don't mean this, Velshon said. Species don't leave the council. Membership is an honor, a privilege. There must be some misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, Jake said calmly. Humanity is leaving. The decision is final. General Kreth pushed forward. You cannot simply leave. You have obligations. You have commitments, which we will honor for 6 months, as the charter requires. Jake replied. After that, humanity will have no further association with the Council. The Zelani coordinator's containment suit glowed brighter. This is foolish. You need the Council. Without us, you are alone in a dangerous galaxy. We've been alone since we joined, Jake said. The Council took our contributions, but gave nothing in return. Our scientists made breakthroughs that you stole. Our soldiers saved your armada, and you gave them reprimands instead of thanks. Our resources were exploited, while you offered us only contempt. We're done. 2000. You will regret this, Kreth said. The Council provides protection, trade opportunities, access to technology. Without these things, humanity will fail. We'll take our chances, Jake said. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the Council erupted in chaos. The next day, Captain Ben Walker issued orders to every human ship serving the Council. Return to Earth space. Immediately. Within 48 hours, every human vessel had left Council territory. Captain Amy Sullivan and her fleet departed from the outer reach. The Council had never replaced them with adequate patrols. And within a week, pirate activity increased by 300%. Mining colonies that had felt safe with human protection now sent desperate messages to Council command, begging for help that was slow to arrive. Commander Lisa Hayes recalled all human military personnel from Council bases. 10,000 soldiers, all well-trained, all experienced. The Council's military operations, which had come to rely on human effectiveness, suddenly found themselves short-staffed and struggling. Dr. Claire Bennett and every human scientist packed their research and left Council stations. Projects that humans had been quietly keeping functional started to fail. Equipment broke down. Experiments stalled. The Council Science Committee discovered too late how much they had depended on human problem-solving. Kyle Preston and his Marines withdrew from Council security operations. Crime rates on Council stations increased. Smuggling operations that human Marines had been disrupting resumed. The other species' security forces, which had grown comfortable letting humans handle the dangerous work, were overwhelmed. Human engineers left construction projects half-finished. Human doctors closed medical clinics that had been treating patients from a dozen species. Human diplomats who had been mediating disputes between smaller species packed their offices and departed. The Council scrambled to respond. High Arbiter Velshawn called an emergency session. The chamber was tense. Species blaming each other for the human withdrawal. We must convince them to return, Velshawn said. Send a delegation to Earth. Offer concessions. Make them understand that leaving is a mistake. Offer them nothing, General Kreth said. They are one small species. We are 200. We don't need humans. Let them leave. They will crawl back within a year, begging to rejoin. The humans were providing 30% of our outer reach patrol coverage, a Chitin representative said nervously. Without them, our colonies are vulnerable. Human medical teams were handling a plague outbreak in the Thren sector, another species added. Without them, thousands are dying. Human engineers were the only ones who could work in the radiation zones on Keltar Prime, a third said. Our mining operations are stopping. The arguments continued for hours. Some species wanted to offer humanity better terms. Others wanted to impose sanctions. To punish Earth for leaving, a few smaller species quietly wondered if they should consider leaving as well. Velshawn sent a delegation to Earth. 5 elder species, including a Korthan general and a Zelani coordinator. They arrived, expecting to negotiate with a desperate, isolated humanity. Instead, they found something very different. The solar system had transformed. Defense stations orbited every major planet and moon. New ships, sleek and deadly, patrolled the space lanes. These weren't the ships humanity had contributed to the Council. These were new designs. Built with technology humanity had been developing in secret. Luna had become a massive shipyard. Humans were constructing vessels at a pace that shocked the delegation. Mars hosted a military academy, training thousands of new soldiers. The asteroid belt was being systematically mined, resources flowing to support humanity's expansion. Earth itself looked prosperous. Cities gleamed. Orbital elevators reached into space. The planet that the Council had seen as a minor backwater now looked like the center of a growing power. Prime Minister Kate Morgan received the delegation in New York, in a simple conference room with windows overlooking the city. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, a career politician who had led Earth through its time in the Council. Prime Minister Morgan. The Council has sent us to discuss humanity's return, the Corthan General began. We are prepared to offer significant concessions. We're not interested, Kate said simply. The Silani coordinator's containment suit brightened. You must listen to reason. The Council can offer you protection, trade, technology. Without these things, humanity will struggle. We're doing fine on our own. Kate replied. She activated a screen showing data. In the 6 months since we left the Council, Earth's economy has grown by 12%. We're not paying Council fees anymore. We're not providing resources to Council projects that benefit only elder species. We're not losing soldiers in Council wars. Our people are happier, safer, and more prosperous than they were as Council members. What about technology? The Zelani asked. You need Council science, Council innovations. Kate smiled. You mean our innovations? Dr. Claire Bennett's quantum field research that you stole? Captain Ben Walker's tactical systems that you claimed as your own? We have our own scientists now, working on our own projects, keeping the benefits for ourselves. We're advancing faster without you than we ever did with you. The Corthan General leaned forward. You are vulnerable. The Devourers are still a threat. Without Council protection, Earth could be attacked. We're aware of the threat, Kate said. We're also aware that the Council's protection mainly consists of demanding our ships and soldiers to fight Council battles. We'll defend ourselves. Thank you. The Council can offer you a seat on the inner circle, the Zelani coordinator said. Full voting rights on all committees. Equal partnership with elder species. Profit sharing from all patents and technologies. Formal apologies for past treatment. It was everything humanity had wanted when they joined the Council. Everything they had been denied for over a year. Kate looked at the delegation calmly. No, she said. You refuse? The Corthan General looked shocked. The Council had the chance to treat us as partners. Instead, you treated us as servants. You took our contributions and gave nothing back. You exploited our people and dismissed our achievements. You taught us a valuable lesson, though. We don't need you. You need someone. The Zelani insisted. The galaxy is dangerous. Alone, you will fail. We're not alone, Kate said. We have a dozen colonies, all thriving. We're opening trade with independent species, ones who aren't part of the Council. We're exploring new regions of space, finding new opportunities. We're building alliances based on mutual respect, not exploitation. She stood, indicating the meeting was over. Tell the Council thank you for the lessons. You taught us to be self-reliant. You taught us that we're better off standing on our own. And you taught us that power and size don't matter as much as competence and determination. The delegation left Earth empty-handed. When they reported back to Velshan, the High Arbiter realized that humanity was serious. They weren't coming back. The next few months were difficult for the Council. The Devourers attacked again, striking a major colony world. The Council mobilized a defense fleet using the tactics Ben Walker had developed. But without experienced human crews to execute those tactics, the operation failed. 8 billion Chitin died. The colony was lost. Pirate raids in the Outer Reach became so severe that 3 species withdrew their colonies from the region entirely. The mining operations that had been productive under human protection were abandoned. Trade routes became dangerous. A plague in the Thren sector, which human doctors had been close to curing, spread to 5 more systems. Millions died. The Council medical teams, which had relied on human innovations, couldn't stop it. Construction projects across Council space stalled. Equipment that human engineers had maintained broke down. Systems that had worked smoothly under human management fell into disarray. Worse, other species started to question their Council membership. If humanity could leave and prosper, why couldn't they? Several smaller species began asking for better terms, threatening to withdraw if their demands weren't met. The Council's carefully maintained hierarchy was crumbling. High Arbiter Velshawn called another emergency session. The chamber was different now. Fear had replaced confidence. The elder species looked worried. The newer species looked thoughtful. The Council faces its greatest crisis in 8,000 years, Velshawn said. The Devourers continue their attacks. Piracy is rampant. Plague spreads unchecked. Our systems are failing. And it is because we lost humanity. One species should not matter so much, General Kreth protested. But they did, Velshawn said quietly. We didn't notice how much we depended on human effectiveness until they were gone. Human soldiers were the best ground troops we had. Velshawn said. Velshawn soldiers were the best ground troops we had. Human engineers solved problems others couldn't. Human scientists made breakthroughs at an incredible rate. Human diplomats kept smaller species content. We took all of this for granted. So we offer them better terms, a Chitin representative said. We bring them back. They won't come back, Velshawn said. I've reviewed Earth's recent activities. They're exploring regions we haven't reached. They're establishing colonies in systems we ignored. They're forming alliances with independent species. They're building their own power base. In another 10 years, humanity might be strong enough to rival the elder species. And it will be our own fault for driving them away. The Council chamber was silent. Species who had dismissed humanity as primitives now understood what they had lost. Not just workers or soldiers, but partners who could have strengthened the Council. Instead, through arrogance and exploitation, the Council had driven them away. On Earth, Jake Martinez stood in an observation deck, looking out at the stars. He was no longer an ambassador. He had returned to Earth and taken a position as an advisor to the Space Exploration Department. His job now was to help humanity find new worlds, new opportunities, new futures. Ben Walker joined him. The captain had been promoted to admiral and now commanded Earth's defense fleet. Lisa Hayes was his second in command. Kyle Preston ran the Marine Corps training program. Amy Sullivan led exploration missions into unknown space. Any regrets? Ben asked. Jake thought about it. Sometimes. We could have had access to 8,000 years of Council knowledge. We could have learned from 200 different species. We could have been part of something bigger than ourselves. But, Ben prompted, but we would have been junior partners forever, taking orders, providing resources, getting nothing in return. The Council didn't want partners. They wanted servants, and humanity doesn't serve. No, we don't, Ben agreed. They watched as a new ship launched from Luna's shipyards. It was an exploration vessel, designed to push further into space than any human ship had gone before. Not toward Council territory, but away from it. Out into the unknown regions where humanity would write its own story. Claire finished her new quantum drive last week, Jake said. It's twice as fast as anything the Council has. We'll be able to reach systems they can't. Emma negotiated a trade deal with the Farron Collective, Ben added. Independent species, not part of the Council. They're interested in human technology and offering resources in return. Fair trade, mutual benefit. That's the difference, Jake said. When we deal with other species now, it's as equals, not as subordinates begging for acceptance. Ben nodded. The Council taught us a valuable lesson. We don't need their approval. We don't need their validation. We just need to be competent, determined, and true to ourselves. Do you think they understand that now? Jake asked. Probably. Too late. But they understand. The council spent 8,000 years at the top, growing comfortable, growing arrogant. They forgot that power isn't just about size or age. It's about adaptability, innovation, and the will to stand on your own. In the council chamber, light years away, High Arbiter Velshan floated alone. The emergency session had ended hours ago, but he remained, thinking. Around him, the chamber felt empty despite the sections for 200 species. One small section, the human section in the outer rim, was dark and vacant. Such a small space to have left such a large absence. Velshan thought about humanity, a young species, barely a century in space. They had joined the council with such hope, such enthusiasm, and the council had crushed that enthusiasm through exploitation and contempt. Now, they were gone, thriving without council help, proving that they had never needed the council in the first place. The council had needed them, though. Velshan understood that now. In humanity, the council had found something they had lost over millennia of comfortable dominance, energy, creativity, adaptability, and the will to solve problems rather than simply follow old patterns. Those qualities had made the council great 8,000 years ago. Humanity had reminded them of that greatness, and then left when the council proved unworthy of it. Perhaps someday, Velshan thought, if the council learned from this mistake, if they changed their ways and truly embraced partnership over hierarchy, humanity might consider returning. But that day was far in the future, if it came at all. For now, humanity was gone, silent, determined, and independent, and the Galactic Council was left to face the consequences of their arrogance alone. While somewhere out among the stars, human ships pushed forward into the unknown, writing a new chapter in human history. A chapter where they answered to no one but themselves, where their achievements belonged to them, and where their future was limited only by their own courage and imagination. The council chamber's lights dimmed as Velshan finally left. The human section remained dark, empty, a reminder of what the council had lost, and a warning of what could be lost again if they didn't learn from their mistakes. But out in the darkness of space, human ships moved forward, their lights bright, their course clear, their destiny their own, capable enough to exploit further, Jake said quietly.